Back in 1988, something totally unbelievable happened. An entire classroom just disappeared. No one knew what was going on, and it left the whole nation scratching their heads for nearly 4 decades. But then, out of nowhere, a woman named Emma Lawson stepped forward. She claimed she was part of that missing class and promised to spill the beans on what really went down. And trust me, what she revealed was something nobody saw coming. It all started on a sunny Tuesday in April 1988. Mr. Thompson took his students into the woods for a geography lesson. He thought it was the perfect day to explore all the blooming plants and wildlife, believing that real learning happens outside the classroom. Little did he know, this decision would turn into a huge mistake. The kids were having a blast enjoying the weather, and the school principal was cool with it, trusting Mr. Thompson's methods and thinking they'd all be safe and sound nearby. But then, when the clock hit 3, chaos broke out at the school. Everyone was freaking out, wondering where Mr. Thompson and the kids had vanished to. Principal Davis was the first to call the cops, not wanting to hold onto false hope. He figured it's better to be safe than sorry. He gave the police some details about where Mr. Thompson might have gone, and 2 officers went out to look for them. But nothing turned up. As minutes dragged into hours, more officers and parents joined the search. "They can't just disappear into thin air," said one mom who went into the forest with a flashlight. Eventually, a group of men started trekking through the woods, and the police even brought in dogs to sniff things out. Despite all their efforts, nothing seemed to work, until finally, one of the dogs picked up a scent. The loud barking of 2 dogs echoed through the forest, giving parents a glimmer of hope. The dogs stopped when they found a ribbon, but the girl wearing it was nowhere to be seen. After a few weeks, everyone just gave up, fearing the worst. How could 23 kids and a teacher just vanish like that? It was a mystery that no one thought would ever be solved. They held symbolic funerals since no bodies were found. Nothing but that lonely ribbon was ever recovered. As strange stories started popping up, parents and loved ones couldn't come to terms with the loss. People began moving away, unable to handle losing so many young lives. Folktales spread about babies crying during full moons, and the town's imagination ran wild until Emma Lawson showed up. Nobody recognized Emma when she walked through town, but how could they? She and the others had been missing for almost 35 years. She didn't look like herself anymore. She was in her 50s and resembled her grandmother more than her actual mother. On the day she disappeared, her first steps in the city were shaky. Everything had changed, new buildings, modern streets, stuff she'd never seen before. She didn't even notice all the stairs she had to climb because she was too focused on her strange, ragged clothes. To everyone else, she looked really odd. "Excuse me, ma'am," Emma said to a woman walking by. The woman was taken aback by Emma's sudden question but stayed polite. "Yes," she replied hesitantly. "Where's the police station?" Emma asked, thinking it was the best place to end her crazy adventure, if you could even call it that. Following the clues, Emma made her way through the changed city toward the police station. She noticed how buildings were gone where trees used to be, and how the streets were now filled with unfamiliar cars. Every step reminded her of how much time had passed, but she stayed focused on her goal, driven by the weight of her untold story. The modern city looked so different from what she remembered, but she was determined to find help. Electronic billboards replaced handwritten signs, and people were glued to their devices, oblivious to the world around them. Emma kept moving forward, eyes fixed on the police station ahead, a beacon of hope in this strange new world. When Emma walked into the police station, her outdated clothes and messy appearance drew curious and skeptical looks from both officers and civilians. Her old-fashioned outfit stood out against the sleek, modern surroundings. Officers stopped talking, and everyone watched as Emma made her way to the front desk, determined to be heard. The room was thick with unspoken questions as all eyes turned to her, marking the start of her incredible claim. She stood there, totally out of place among the digital displays and uniformed officers, despite the strange whispers and sideways glances. Clearing her throat, Emma was ready to unravel the mystery that had haunted her and her classmates for decades. Even though people were skeptical, her determination was clear. setting the stage for her extraordinary story. With everyone in earshot, Emma began to recount what happened on that fateful day in 1988, drawing listeners deeper into the mystery with every word. The room went silent, hanging on her every sentence as she prepared to reveal what really happened to her and her classmates. Gathering her courage, Emma told the police her story, claiming she was one of the kids who disappeared in 1988. She spoke seriously, her voice steady despite the incredulous stares. Officers took notes, their expressions a mix of curiosity and doubt. Emma's account of the day she vanished filled the room, pushing the boundaries of belief. The police officers, surprised by her story, considered the possibility that she might be mentally unstable or even making it up. They whispered to each other, trying to figure out if her story was plausible or just impossible. Emma watched as their doubts grew and her story seemed to drift further from acceptance. The air was thick with silent questions as the officers glanced at each other, unsure of what to do next. They discussed in hushed tones, wondering if Emma's incredible story was real. The idea of a kid returning after decades, unchanged, was hard to believe, but Emma stood firm. Her story didn't waver despite the growing disbelief around her. Everything changed when the police commissioner, intrigued by Emma's claim, stepped in to assess the situation with authority. He silenced the room, his interest piqued by the unusual nature of Emma's story. The commissioner approached Emma with cautious curiosity. As he began to speak, the room fell silent, and everyone watched the interaction between Emma and the authorities, a moment that could change everything. The police chief, drawn to the commotion, noticed a frayed ribbon in Emma's hand. His eyes narrowed, recognizing the faded material. The silence in the room grew as he stepped closer, focusing on the ribbon Emma held out. She waited patiently as the chief's interest deepened, marking a key moment in their interaction. Recognizing the ribbon as a crucial piece from the past, the chief's curiosity was fully piqued, signaling a turning point. He gently took the ribbon from Emma and examined it closely, the evidence silent but telling, bridging the gap between disbelief and possibility. The chief looked from the ribbon to Emma, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. Emma's story found a moment of confirmation when her boss connected the ribbon to the initial search in 1988. He recalled the frantic efforts to find the missing classroom and how that particular ribbon had become a symbol of the unsolved mystery. Emma watched as the chief's reaction confirmed the weight of her claims. A shared understanding began to form, rooted in the tangible connection of the ribbon. The chief invited Emma to his office for a private conversation as he prepared to dig into old case files. The room was silent except for the sound of the door closing behind them. The chief motioned for Emma to sit down while he pulled a dusty folder out of the cabinet. The air was thick with anticipation as they prepared to unravel the story locked away in old documents. The police chief reminisced about his time as a search officer in 1988 to Emma, recognizing the significance of the ribbon. She shared her firsthand experience, describing the day the ribbon was found and how it became a haunting reminder of an unsolved case. Emma listened intently, her boss's memories bridging the gap to her own experiences. Together, they began to piece together the puzzle of the past. In his office, the chief compared Emma's ribbon to one found during his search, sensing a deep connection. She examined both ribbons closely, noting their striking similarity. A tense silence filled the room as she placed the pieces side by side, matching the colors and jagged edges. This visual parallel connected the past to the present, tying Emma directly to the mystery. The identical initials on the ribbon served as undeniable evidence, giving the first piece of physical credibility to Emma's story. The chief, now holding both ribbons, turned to Emma with a new look in his eyes. The skepticism that once clouded his judgment began to fade as the initials meticulously stitched into the fabric confirmed her claims. He sat back in his chair, absorbing the implications of the evidence presented. The reality of Emma's claims, once unbelievable, started to sink in. The room, once filled with doubt, now thrummed with the potential to unravel a decades-old mystery. Encouraged by his newfound trust, the chief asked about the fate of the other survivors. Taking a step toward uncovering the truth, Emma hesitated, weighed down by memories, then began to tell the story of her classmates. Her words were slow but measured as the chief listened intently, piecing together the story's threads. Emma revealed the loss of their teacher and the survival of several individuals, painting a grim picture of their ordeal. The chief's expression turned somber as he realized the gravity of Emma's relationship. The story of survival against all odds was marked by profound loss and the resilience of those involved. As Emma spoke, a new determination settled on the chief, fueling his resolve to dig deeper into the case. He realized the seriousness of the situation, aware of the astonishing 35-year gap since their disappearance. He leaned forward, taking in the enormity of what Emma had shared, his mind racing with the implications of her story. Understanding the vast amount of time that had passed and the immediate need to act on this newfound information, conversations shifted to planning a rescue operation. The chief recognized the urgent need to find any remaining survivors and began organizing resources, contacting specialist search and rescue teams. The atmosphere was tense but focused as discussions about logistics and strategy filled the room. The chief's leadership directed the flow of ideas, shaping the beginnings of a coordinated effort to bring survivors home. Emma's account of their survival evoked a mix of hope and determination to help other survivors. The chief's commitment to the cause grew stronger, fueled by the resilience of Emma and her classmates. He stood there calling out and giving orders, his determination clear. The team around him was motivated by the chance to reunite survivors with their families after so long. Emma described the grim situation of the survivors, highlighting the emotional and physical effects of their long-term isolation. She talked about the hardships they had to face, the struggle for food and warmth, and the strength they had to muster to survive. The chief and his team listened, realizing the reality of the situation and emphasizing the urgency of the rescue operation they were about to undertake. The logistical challenge of rescuing the others became apparent, and Emma pointed out a small exit that only she could get through. The chief explained the difficulties of the terrain and the narrow paths leading to their shelter. He took notes, his mind working on solutions to overcome these obstacles. The conversation turned technical, focusing on gear and strategies for reaching the survivors in their hidden location. The revelation that they survived thanks to a narrow escape route further complicated the rescue mission. The chief paced the room, considering the implications. Every detail Emma provided was critical in shaping the rescue plan. She understood the complexity of the operation, knowing that conventional methods wouldn't work. The team had to innovate, finding new ways to navigate the dangerous path. Emma described the challenges, and the chief listened attentively. The gravity of the story deepened his determination to help the survivors escape their long imprisonment. He nodded, absorbing Emma's every word, the seriousness of the situation etched into his resolve. With each detail, the urgency grew, forcing him to act quickly. The chief's focus sharpened, fueled by the need to bring the survivors back to safety. The conversation became strategic, focusing on how to carry out a rescue mission under difficult circumstances. Maps were spread out on a table, and routes were discussed with rescue experts. The chief coordinated, making sure every angle was considered. Planning was meticulous as the team weighed the risks and strategized the best approach to reach the survivors and extract them safely. Although disoriented, the chief was determined to act, calling in specialized rescue teams to handle the tough conditions. He ordered the mobilization of experts equipped to tackle the treacherous terrain. The room buzzed with activity as connections were made and resources were gathered. The chief oversaw the preparations, ensuring the operation had the best chance of success despite daunting odds. Emma's hope and anxiety reflected a mix of anticipation and fear as the rescue operation began to take shape. She watched the intense action, her heart torn between the joy of potentially reuniting with her friends and the fear of the unknown challenges they might face. Emma stood nearby, her presence a silent testament to the stakes of the upcoming mission. Logistical and security preparations for the rescue operation underscored the unique challenges posed by the situation. The chief oversaw the assembly of equipment and the briefing of teams, emphasizing the need for precision and caution. Every piece of equipment, from harnesses to ropes, was checked and rechecked. The complexity of the operation required careful planning and understanding of the difficult task ahead. Community involvement was growing, and specialized teams were coming together to assist in the effort, highlighting the importance of the operation. Volunteers from nearby areas were stepping in, offering their skills and support. The collective determination to help with the rescue effort was palpable. The chief coordinated with these teams, ensuring their contributions were directed to where they were most needed. This collaboration underscored the community's determination to bring survivors home. Emma's story became a beacon of hope, motivating a collective effort to bring the survivors back to safety. Her courage and the prospect of reuniting missing students with their families inspired everyone involved. Conversations between teams were filled with a renewed sense of purpose, fueled by the tangible goal of rescue and the emotional weight of the mission. News of Emma's miraculous return and her sensational story spread quickly, attracting media attention. Reporters and journalists flocked to the police station, wanting to capture every detail of the unfolding drama. Cameras and microphones were everywhere, and media outlets scrambled for interviews and updates. The police chief was carefully managing this influx, aware of the media's power to spread information but also the need to protect the integrity of the operation. Reporters and journalists continued to swarm the police station, marking a significant change in the visibility of the rescue mission. National and even international attention was now on the small town. The chief pondered how to balance transparency with operational security. Emma's story, now a global narrative, became a focal point for discussions about hope, resilience, and the human spirit. Unprepared for the media onslaught, Emma found herself overwhelmed by the questions and camera flashes, a stark contrast to her years of isolation. She struggled to navigate through a sea of microphones pointed at her and bright lights that momentarily blinded her. Emma, trying to stay calm, was led away by officials who tried to shield her from the intense public gaze. The media frenzy thrust Emma's story into the spotlight, creating public fascination with her story and the significance of the rescue mission. People across the country were glued to their screens, fascinated by the unfolding events. The story of survival and resilience resonated, drawing attention to the critical nature of the operation and the collective hope for a successful rescue. At the rescue site, Emma pointed out a small hidden cave entrance, emphasizing the daunting reality of the operation. The rescue team gathered around, focusing on assessing the entry point. Emma's guidance was invaluable. Her first-hand knowledge of the terrain provided key details for navigating the complexities of the upcoming operation. The rescue team, equipped with specialist gear, began the delicate task of widening the passage without compromising safety. Every move was calculated, with experts carefully clearing debris and shoring up the structure. The operation was tense, and the team's efforts were underscored by the critical need to preserve the cave's integrity while creating a viable path for rescue. The team worked diligently to ensure safe entry into the cave, closing in on the survivors. The sound of equipment and coordinated commands filled the air, attesting to the complexity of the operation and the dedication of the team. With every inch gained, the anticipation grew, marking a significant step toward reaching those who had been lost for so long. The atmosphere was thick with tension as the passageway finally opened, marking a major breakthrough in the rescue operation. The rescue team and onlookers held their breath as the first rays of light penetrated the long-sealed cave. This moment, the culmination of countless hours of planning and work, heralded the beginning of a new chapter for the survivors. One by one, the survivors were brought to the surface. Their emergence was a testament to the resilience and success of the daring rescue operation. Every face, though tired, glowed with the joy of freedom. Cheers and tears mixed in the air as families came together, embracing loved ones they feared were lost. Seeing the survivors, once thought to be a dream, become reality as they emerged into the daylight was incredible. After the rescue was complete, Emma began to detail their harrowing experience, starting with the unexpected appearance of a bear during their hike. She described the panic when the bear showed up and how their laughter turned into screams. Their teacher, thinking quickly, led them to a nearby cave to seek shelter from the approaching threat. This decision, made in a moment of fear, forever changed the course of their lives. She explained how their teacher led them to the safety of a cave that then collapsed, sealing their fate underground. The collapse was sudden, a cascade of rocks and dust blocking their exit. In those first moments, disbelief and fear gripped them as the reality of their situation sank in. They were trapped with no way out, and their hopes rested on a slim chance of rescue. Emma described how they adapted to life underground, using abandoned miners' supplies and the cave's natural resources to survive. They found old mining equipment and remnants of a bygone era that became crucial to their daily existence. Water seeped from the cave walls, and they discovered edible mushrooms. Their will to live transformed the cave from a prison into a home, demonstrating their incredible resilience and ingenuity. The story of their subterranean existence, sustained by an underwater river and natural flora, highlighted their ability to survive in the darkness, relying on the whispering water and the meager resources of the cave. This testament to their survival skills underscored not only their ability to adapt, but also the strength of their spirit against all odds. The community listened in awe to Emma's story of survival and adaptation, revealing a remarkable testament to human resilience. People gathered in City Hall hung on every word, moved by the story of resilience. The story resonated, bridging the gap between the unimaginable reality of the survivors and the outside world. Now united in awe and relief, other survivors confirmed Emma's story, adding details about the teacher's death and the resting places of those who died from the disease. Their voices, though tinged with sadness, reinforced the narrative of survival. They spoke of marking the places where their friends and teacher lay, a grim reminder of the price paid and the bonds forged deep in the earth. They talked about their constant search for a way out, culminating in the recent discovery of a small hole, a hopeful but elusive escape route. Working together, they explored every inch of their underground prison, their determination never wavering. The discovery of the hole spurred them into action and caused them to widen it enough for one of them to pass through. Their shared narrative painted a picture of unwavering hope and determination in the midst of adversity, marking a poignant chapter in their saga. Despite difficult challenges, their spirit remained unbroken, fueled by the dream of returning and meeting again. This story, which they now shared with the world, was a powerful testament to the human capacity for hope and resilience in the face of insurmountable odds. The reunion with families ended in a deeply emotional moment where loved ones were reunited after decades apart in the spacious hall. Survivors entered the arms of their waiting families. Tears and smiles mingled in a scene of pure joy. The air vibrated with the sounds of names being called, and hugs surrounded those who were lost, now found, and embraced with warmth. The survivor's story, now public, resonated widely, becoming a story of resilience, survival, and the indomitable human spirit. News outlets and social media buzzed with discussions about the survivors' incredible journey. Schools and communities held meetings to share their stories, inspiring others with their unwavering courage and the power of hope in overcoming unimaginable challenges. Community support for survivors and their families underscored the powerful bonds of humanity and compassion. Fundraisers and support groups popped up, offering resources and emotional support. Local businesses provided materials, and community specialists, mental health professionals, volunteered their services, creating a network of care that surrounded the survivors in a collective embrace. This reinforced the message that no hardship is too great when faced together. The story of the survivors was etched into the heart of the community, inspiring people around the world. Letters and messages of support poured in, each one a testament to the impact their story had on the world. Survivors, once isolated in darkness, now shown as beacons of hope. Their legacy was a reminder of the resilience rooted in the human spirit. As the initial wave of media attention faded, survivors and their families began their journey forward together. Community events were organized to celebrate their return, integrating them back into society with love and support. The experience changed them, but it also strengthened the bonds within the community, showcasing the profound strength that can be achieved when united. If you found this touching and surprising story interesting, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below sharing your opinion. And if you want to keep enjoying inspiring stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe to our channel or check out the other videos suggested at the bottom of the screen. Thanks for watching.
Disclaimer: this channel does not support or tolerate any form of discrimination, racism, prejudice, or violation of human rights. The stories presented here are original and created by the author with the aim of promoting reflection, awareness, and dialogue. All content is developed with respect for diversity and the dignity of all people.